Our next moderator, Stephen Morris of Nth Degree. We just met in the hallway after several conversations over the last couple of months. He is a recognized thought leader in the marketing, branding, and digital and creative industries, and has contributed to many national publications and blogs. He holds an MFA in design from the Tyler School of Art at Temple, and he has spoken at a wide range of national and international events and has received more than 100 awards from national and international publications and competitions. Please join me in welcoming Stephen Morris from the Nth Degree.
Good afternoon, everyone. How's lunch? I hear a lot of eating out there. Very, very exciting. I'm thrilled to be here as the moderator for the It Takes a Village panel discussion. And our conversation today is going to sit squarely in between, frankly, two different worlds. On the one side of the world is this concept of tribes and or communities. And in the sports and fitness arena, there's a longstanding tradition for tribes and communities to naturally congregate individuals within those tribes to share ideas, share core values, share workouts, things of that nature. And the other side of our conversation today is essentially this concept of technologies. And our five brilliant panelists sit squarely in that intersection between those two worlds. So we're here today to talk about a variety of things. Excuse me. First and foremost, what it takes to build a great community, what it takes to partner in sometimes the building of those communities, what it takes to build a successful brand in the sports and fitness arena. So we're expecting a very lively discussion today and a lot of brilliance from our panelists. The way it's going to work is each panelist is going to have a couple minutes to introduce themselves, their companies, and then we're going to get into a series of Q&A. And then we're going to have about 5 minutes at the end of this conversation for questions. So you'll see that a microphone is going to be passed around. If you want to ask a question at the end of the conversation, please come up to the microphone. So without further ado, I would like to have Christine Robbins, the CEO of Body Media, introduce herself.
Thanks, Stephen. So my name is Chris Robbins. Do we have, oh, we do have slides. I'm the CEO of Body Media, and just real quickly, we are, if you want to go to the next slide, next visual. You know, in essence, we're about 13 years old. We've been at this wearable on-body monitoring approach. We are a Class 2 medical device, which might be an interesting conversation for us to get into in this space and what that means. We've been innovating in this space for a long time. We've got 4 on-body sensors, looking to add a 5th here with a new product we're launching in the middle of this year. And what we do with that data is pretty interesting and impactful. We'll talk about that. If you want to go to the next slide, is really kind of the essence of what we are. So what is our technology? It's basically a wearable sensor that measures essentially the largest organ in our body, and that's your skin. You know, there's a lot of motion detectors out there. There's a lot of activity monitors. We go at it a very different way, and we capture through 4 sensors, essentially. We have a 3-axis accelerometer. We have heat flux, skin temperature, and galvanic skin response. And we're really excited to also introduce the end of this year with our new product. We will also have heart rate and heart rate variability off the body, off the arm, embedded in our system. Through those sensors, we capture 5,000 data points a minute. So you want to talk about big data off the body, we've got it. And so we take all that data, assimilate it through a series of algorithms and analytical capabilities. And today we have software applications that help people focus on weight management and obesity issues. And we're working to take that technology and hardware with other partners into other healthcare spaces as well. From a form factor standpoint, this is where it used to be in terms of size. Today it is, I just have to think about how I dress for these things. It's really no bigger than a quarter, which is a product we're shipping in the middle of this year. And then we also have, we will be launching in partner with Avery Medical a disposable product. So very same sensor set, medical grade adhesive, 7-day use case. So a whole lot of different use cases, applications, and partnership possibilities as well if you can capture this type of data in a quick, low-cost way. So that's what Body Media is.
Thank you, Chris. Next up for introductions is Jay Moore, who is the Vice President of Marketing for Looksee.
Hi. Really interested to be up here with a lot of fitness technologies. We are more of a collaborative, building the community technology. We're a wearable social video camera, and it allows you to broadcast your workouts, your interactions live on the internet, stream it, and not just record it. There's a lot of folks, I'm sure, who are out there on their bikes with GoPros, and they're great products, and we like them a lot. But we stream it, so it's very social, and it builds a community around your workout and around your fitness in a way that most other camera products don't. And it's wearable in a way that really most of the others aren't. Just put it on your ear like a Bluetooth device. I don't know if we've got other slides, do we?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, we do.
Yeah.
We let you take mobile sharing to a whole new level. And the great thing about it is not only is it a camera, but it's a streaming camera. So it goes 3G, 4G, Wi-Fi up to the internet, where you can share it via Facebook or other social media devices to let the world or your friends or your small community or just that special someone see what you're doing.
I'm curious, Dave, are you broadcasting live right now?
I'm not. My battery ran out.
Thanks, Jay.
But if you come over to the South Hall, we've got lots of cameras that are broadcasting live.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you. Next up for introductions is Dr. Samir Damani, who is the CEO of MD Revolution.
Slide? Will this slide? Okay.
Yes. There we go.
So in addition to being the founder and CEO of MD Revolution, I'm a cardiologist and an NIH-sponsored researcher. And it's working with patients and actually in my research that brought me to the realization to launch MD Revolution. And that was that although we've learned a lot about the predictors of chronic disease like fitness and visceral fat and body fat percentage and resting metabolism, we haven't used that to keep people healthy. We actually wait till they get disease and we treat disease. And you know what the consumer market is doing now is they're saying we as consumers of healthcare are tired of it and we want to actually be healthy. We don't want to wait till we have disease and have to go to see the doctor. So what they're doing is, and I brought props because I figure this is a good time to bring it if you're going to be at CES, but you have blood pressure monitors that sync to various apps. You have heart rate monitors that actually allow my patients that think that they're raking leaves in the back of their yard as exercise to let them know that it's not really exercise. You can actually be more precise about how you exercise. You have genetic reports. Many of you probably heard of 23andMe. We use Pathway, where you now have 200,000 people that have ordered genetic reports, and you've got over 10,000 medical apps on your iPhone, all of which are being used in silos. They're not integrated. And so what we're doing at MD Revolution, we're unleashing the power of digital health by integrating technology and biology to actually deliver the thing that we really care about. We want to be faster, healthier, smarter, right? But the problem is that that's not a solution you can do with one siloed solution. You need to integrate these approaches with innovative software, different devices, genetic testing, traditional medicine, and that's what we're doing. Next slide. And we didn't back in and build our software out of a vacuum like what we're seeing a lot of companies are doing right now. We built the clinical model where we brought together personal trainers, nutritionists, nurses. We try to stay away from needing doctors because much of health can be delivered by the patient themselves, and we're a support network, and we moved the exam room to a mobile health bar, and what we've now done is we've got over 250 people that have come through. We've got proven outcomes, and we've built software to scale our model, and we're currently have a pilot plan with a number of companies, including Qualcomm and Life Technologies, and so we're very optimistic, and I think I'm very honored to be on this panel because I think that developing these products with an integrated mindset is extremely important.
Great, thank you. Next up is Dave Monahan, who is the CEO of FitLinks.
Thanks, Stephen. I like to introduce us as the most unknown popular fitness technology company in the world. You probably haven't heard of us, and that's because of our partnering business model, and I'll get into that in a minute. But We have over 4 million devices out there with our technology in them, either branded by us or branded by our partners. If you go to the first slide, please. One of the devices, in addition to this, we have a wireless weight scale, wireless blood pressure monitor. But what this is called, it's the Pebble, and it's a little activity device about the size of a quarter. You can clip it onto your waist, clip it onto your shoe, you clip it to the middle of a bra, and it basically tracks your daily activity. And you can see some of the sort of features with this product listed up there. But the net is, it's very simple. We'd like to call it simple, natural, and universal. So it's got smart algorithms in it. The first thing it recognizes is where you're wearing it. The second thing it does is it figures out what activity you're engaging in. So it'll figure out, are you walking, are you running, are you moving around, are you sort of, not really exercising, but just sort of, moving around. It can do biking, elliptical. We'll be launching actually full algorithms for that in about 2 months. And it also, it has great wireless capabilities where you can actually offload. We have implementations of this in corporate environments where 500, 600, 700 people are offloading through one sync point. So we've really you haven't heard of us, we haven't been at CES before because we've been focusing completely on the employer wellness and the healthcare space. If you go to the next slide. On the, I guess your right-hand side, what we've done is, for integration purposes, we have a very rich API, and our partners pull data from that API in lots of different ways. And I'll show some partner examples in a minute, but we have over 100 partners developing off of our platform. And I like to call us the Android of this world. We're about enabling partners, not about doing our own thing. What we're launching now is something we're calling FitLinks Connect, and this will be launched in about a month or two. And what that is, it's a little app you can download. And rather than, we don't have applications, we don't have programs, we enable other partners with programs who are more experts at weight loss or managing diabetes or whatever. But this little app will take data from our devices and send them straight to applications, other applications. And so we're partnering with consumer applications now to send the data over to their websites. And you don't need a username or password on our site. This is all about just getting it straight to the partner site. If you go to the next slide. These are just some, oh, it's not in there. I was just going to show some examples of partners. It's fine, I don't need to do it. But we span from very heavy disease management, from chronic disease management, all the way up to fun and fitness and games and things like that. But like I said, we have over 100 partners across the whole spectrum.
Thank you, Dave. So next up is Chris Downey, who is the founder and CEO of Spark People.
Hi everyone, I'm Chris Downey, but our members call me Spark Guy, so you can if you'd like to as well. After I sold my first company to eBay, I started Spark People as a way to use technology to help people. So at Spark People, our mission is to spark millions of people to reach their goals. And we really use health and fitness as a springboard to success to reach goals in all areas of life. And I'm happy to be here today for this panel because our community is my favorite part of Spark People. We get millions of message board posts per month, and that leads to just tens of thousands of success stories and these incredible stories that will make you cry. I admit shedding a tear sometimes. One of the stories I sent around last week to our team was from a 77-year-old woman who wrote about how she has used Spark People to lose 100 pounds, and now she is diabetes-free, and she ended it with, I'm a Spark People evangelist, and I'm telling everybody about this. Another type of story I just really love from our community are Spark People moms. We get so many stories from moms who have changed their lifestyle, and then they tell us that they are out there off the sidelines, and they're playing with their kids, and they're helping their kids eat better. So we really think that's the way to help childhood obesity is with the moms, and sometimes the dads too. But our magic formula on the site is integrating tracking tools, expert content, a supportive community, and coaching. So we like wrapping all those together and really using this behavioral psychology approach to make this work. So we are a tech company, but we're really a people company. It's these stories that I get excited when I see stories because I know I can send that individual story out to millions of people, and that's going to help me produce more stories. So it's this virtuous cycle.
That's great. I love how you're talking about this emergence or focus on the actual people. It's when we're talking here today about community and the importance of community. community is made up of individuals, of people, and it's really nothing more than that. And you know, the natural inclination within the world of certainly sports and fitness is that people naturally want to congregate together and share core values, share systems and thinking, and even hold each other accountable. So this is really, you know, we're going to start off the questions here with sort of a jump ball question, which is, you know, why is creating community so important to each of you?
Well, for us at Luxie, it's sharing the experience. So that community, if you don't want to share what you're seeing with everyone else, and they don't want to see it, we really don't have a reason to exist. So, we have a network where people post all their videos, and they send it to each other individually. So if they didn't have that drive, and we didn't feel like we could help enable that, there would be no reason for the product.
Sure. So would you go as far as say there's a symbiotic relationship?
Spark, we need to talk, Spark guy. Because I think one of the, part of community, most communities right now are text-based or picture-based, but for the most part, video is the most expressive medium there is. And we're finding that people are sharing many experiences, both in fitness, but you talked about moms. Not only are they sharing the soccer game that they see on Saturdays, but also the birthday parties. And those two things, their lives aren't necessarily limited to purely sports and fitness moments. It's the entire thing. And our community is trying to be broader than any single vertical discipline.
And so do you really consider it your community? Because you could look at it a couple different ways, right? One of which is that you're tapping into an existing community, or you're going the route to create your own community.
We consider it partly our community, but in reality, it's the user's community. We've got our servers, and the videos are sitting on them, and we certainly like to think of it as being part of our community, but really it's the users selecting who they want to share with, and then the people who view it sharing back with them. So we don't really do a lot of moderation. They post and they communicate, and we observe and enjoy.
Great.
I don't know that, let me just build on this, but I don't know that, I think the sense of community, I don't think is a new concept per se. 30 years ago, we just did it in our living room. Adults, we get together in the living room. 10 years ago, we got together in Starbucks, and now we do it, through technology, right? In the moment. And I think in healthcare in particular, the things that we've watched, I'm not a founder of the company, but Body Media, but our founders are still very active, and they talk about over the course of 13 years how much has changed, in particular in the last 5 to 6 years. This sense of, and I call it the convergence of healthcare and kind of the rise of attention to healthcare, technology and our acceptance of technology in healthcare. And I think, bless Steve Jobs' heart, I think he made us realize that technology can be more than it's just functional utilitarian purposes, and how we can accept it into so many parts of our life we never thought of, whether it was financial and banking, or connecting with your family through Skype, regardless of where you are, or it's healthcare. And then you just have this sense of self-empowerment that's come about, at least in our country over the last 5 years with the crisis in healthcare, and whether people proactively are saying it's time for me to do something, or they're saying, oh my God, I better do it because my healthcare premiums are going to change. Whatever's driving them. But I think it's the convergence of those three things, and the fact that technology can enable communities, very different than it did years ago, but it's still the same concept.
Sure.
Yeah,
and it's playing out in a different way in this category.
To build on that, we've even seen that online communities have the possibility to be even more powerful than in-person communities, because if we're going around in a normal day, I might say, Jay, how are you doing today? You'll say, oh, I'm doing great. But what we've seen in our online community is it's this safe, supportive, you can be anonymous if you like, so people will drop their guard because they're working with people with common goals, since we can put them in teams, and they end up forming bonds that they tell us are stronger than the bonds with their family. And we'll have members travel cross-country and tell us stories about how they met their Spark friend and burst into tears because it was like meeting a long-lost sister. So online community can be extremely powerful.
Yeah, just a few comments. We don't build communities ourselves. We enable our partners to do it. But what we're seeing is three primary things that motivate people to become healthier and change their life. One is just personal. Some people just do it on their own. They've reached a point in their life and they just want to change. The second one is incentives. And some people like them, some people don't, but at the end of the day, a number of people are motivated by either healthcare, savings accounts, or things where they start to earn some incentives, cash-wise or prize-wise. The third one is community, and for me, what has been interesting is the types of communities that we're seeing developed, and it's very personal. Each person decides what type of community they like. There's one type of community which is just family and friends and people I trust and people I'm close to, and I got to have that capability to do that. And certain people, that's all they want. Another group is people who seek people out like themselves. So I might be 55, I have diabetes, and I have to lose 40 pounds, and they want to connect with those types. And the third group is actually, on MD Revolution side, is the ability to connect with an expert and somebody who's going to guide them through this, because a lot of people are scared or they don't know how to actually take that first step, and they're looking for somebody to guide them through it.
Yeah, and on that note, I think just from a healthcare standpoint, community is so important, especially as we enter this real epidemic of obesity and diabetes, and 79 million people are pre-diabetic. That's 1 out of every 3 people. 1 out of 3 are hypertensive. 1 out of 3 are obese. And these are behavior-related diseases. These weren't killers in the 20th century. Smallpox killed 300 million people. We don't have the communicable diseases. We have the non-communicable diseases, and behavior change is going to be induced by communities. And people say behavior change is so difficult, but yet we do it all the time. How do we do it? When we have a baby, we change our behaviors. When we have to, for our kids or for a wife or for our friends, we change the way we do things. And in our practice and in our model, we find that people do change behaviors. But it does need a community. And one of the things that we find that mobile health and going back to kind of creating a fitness product, we find that the products allow that community to form, allows them to measure, and if you measure, you can manage yourself better. And the thing that they really love about the community from an MD Revolution and the way we build our software is that they love the fact, we get all the time because we have people all over the country that we manage, they love two aspects. They love that they're measuring, but they love that someone's paying attention and somebody's motivating. So our paradigm: measure, monitor, motivate. And that monitor and motivate component comes from building a community. And that community is extremely important.
So, Chris, you were pointing out, and I'm going to play devil's advocate with this particular question, which is perhaps the off chance, or perhaps even the reality that you've experienced, that an online community can be more powerful than a physical community. However, the part that I'm going to play devil's advocate on is that in the health, fitness, and sports worlds, those things tend to happen actually out in the physical world. How do you go about bridging those two things together, or creating some symbiotic relationship between them?
Right, that's a great question. So when I say they can be, I also agree that offline relationships can be just as powerful. So we like to have the combination of the two, and we encourage our Spark People members to join local groups so that they can meet offline in these meetup type situations and do walks and runs and things like that. Mm-hmm. So it does have the best of both worlds. So you're exactly right.
Anyone else have feelings on that particular train of thought?
Well, we look at online as an extension of offline and vice versa. Video doesn't exist online if it didn't get shot offline.
Right.
And they're symbiotic. And if they're not symbiotic, I don't think you actually get the emotional context, which provides the motivation. So if it's not offline, you really find it very hard. You bring your offline persona and your offline habits and your offline motivations with you. They maybe get changed a little bit online, and that then gets reflected right back. Yeah. And hopefully it's a virtuous circle.
And to echo what Chris was saying, one thing that technology has done an incredible job of, and apps like Spark People have done an incredible job of, is most people, the issue people mostly have or one of the big issues they have as far as getting healthier or being more fit is just time and convenience. It's hard to meet sometimes offline with people. Having online relationships is an incredible new asset we have in this behavioral change area that Samir was talking about. And we just see that people appreciate the ability to do that and not have to spend a lot of time going to meet with people or going outside the normal course of business during the day.
And do you all hear stories of those folks that are involved in your online communities taking it out into the physical world? And do they come full circle back into the digital communities?
Every day.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What we see is something we call a healthy leader So the members will form new personality habits in our community. They'll become leaders, and they take that offline and they go out and they motivate their friends, families, coworkers, social community, and it really brings out a part of their personality they've never used before. So even though we market ourselves as a weight loss website or a health website, really it's a combination of the health plus leadership. And really I think that's what America needs now, is this healthy leader concept, so that we can have these leaders pull us out of some of these health issues, but also many other issues as well.
Great, great. So let's think about the individuals for a moment within the communities. Can you guys talk about what's in it for them? You know, in my world, we consider, you know, this particular element delivering upon a brand promise. So you've each created brilliant technologies. And at the end of the day, those brilliant technologies have things like mission, vision, and brand promises that are promised not to the group, but to the individuals within that group. Can you guys talk about the importance of that and how your perspectives within each of your organizations are?
Go ahead. Listen, I think for us, what we see in the communities, and we don't necessarily have a community kind of per se within. We partner with people. So for instance, we're launching a partnership with Spark People next week because they've got things that augment, you know, our user base. We've got, you know, we already found kind of a natural thing happening, but it's about accountability. Right? I think it's less than, I can hold myself accountable and I can find people that are dealing with issues that I have and can be my support network because they've walked in my shoes, they've been there, done it, made the mistakes. And so I think there's just a level of sharing and accountability that we see happening, even if it's something simple as Facebook. You know, we all see it, right? I mean, even our Facebook pages for our brands and our companies, people are, you know, seeking advice. You know, what are you thinking? Sharing their successes or their falters. And that's kind of an interesting anomaly to happen to put out there like that, you know, in front of tens of thousands of Facebook fans. So.
Well, I think it's quite refreshing, though. I mean, you know, because frankly, especially take the digital social media world, and there is sometimes a very much a lack of intimacy that comes with that. And you start injecting words and feelings and thoughts like accountability, and I think it changes the dynamic of the relationship. And even, and that happens on both sides. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, as a manufacturer and in a brand, I mean, that's what motivates us. I mean, I always tell my husband, I was telling someone this, it's like when I have a shitty day at the office, the first thing I do when I come home is I go look at Facebook because that's where we win. That's what motivates all of us sitting at this couch, you know, to keep going, is because people have success with products and services that are in the market today. And if you're part of that, that's what drives us. I go to work every day, just like these guys do, you know, because you want to, you know, you change and get the way people think about healthcare. So it works both ways. It works both ways. You know, we're driven to do more because they share their stories.
Yeah, I think we're particular. I mean, we, you know, being a practitioner as well as, you know, having started the company, I think we have a keen insight into what's in it for the individual. First of all, I think it's about empowerment. And it's personal empowerment. And I think that when we talk about building communities, and I think of building communities around products, right? So using the products to build the community. So we're, you know, when I think about this, I think about how can these products, the steps that I took today, you know, how can that be shared? And Fitbit's doing a great job at being able to get out there and change communities, like how many steps you get. But the idea is that, you know, it's about patient empowerment and ownership, and it's also about feeling as though you're in control. So like if you build communities around these devices and gadgets, what we're finding, and this is not what, we don't do this in medicine, that's a problem, and that's another reason why we wanted to fill this void, is because we make it very reactive, disease care based. You know, you wait till you have a disease, you get treated, you know, you go to your doctor, rarely do they want to talk to you about health. And so when you build this community around a health issue, whatever that might be, all of a sudden you find, wow, people really do care about their health. People don't think that they care about their health, but they want to look better, they want to feel better. And so it's about ownership, it's about empowerment, it's about being able to control what you do. And I think these communities where you're using these tools and products to build these communities are really, really effective means to empower people.
We have time. I'd love to just give an example of how community affects people. We did a program with Humana, and they created something called the Horsepower Challenge, and it was for kids in elementary school. And the kids got online horses, and based on how active they were, they got points, and they could dress up the horses with hats and sunglasses, all kinds of stuff. It was really nice. But the horses also were part of buses, and the buses would race each other around the world, and they would have classroom versus classroom, school versus school. And it was fun. It was all educational and health related. They weren't trying to get the kids to go crazy. They were just trying to get them to move more. And we got calls. This is, for me, you're talking about some personal stories. We got a call from a mom, and she was half joking, half serious. She said, since they started this program, one, the kids won't stand still at their bus stop. They run around in circles, and they challenge each other. And then she goes, but I have a personal issue. We have a treadmill, and I used to be able to get on it all the time, and now I can't. And she was thrilled that her kid now cared, and the reason he cared was because he was part of a bus, and the bus was racing around the world. And it was just a beautiful, what I thought was a beautiful implementation of the technology.
That's great. So let's shift our conversation a little bit. We're still staying relatively on a topic of communities, but really, let's talk about co-branding and partnerships. I know that some of you have already created relationships and either working with one another here, but really, I want to understand a little bit more about the benefit behind relationships and partnerships, whether they're formal partnerships, whether they're informal partnerships, when to do them, when not to do them, when to avoid them, when to cut your losses, when you have a bad partnership, things like that.
I could just start off by saying that this whole concept of building partnerships is so exciting because all of us up here and a lot of people in the audience, we're on the front lines. We're actually helping people. And, a lot of times it gets frustrating when you hear from government and things like that, and it's not an anti-government thing, but being on the front lines is just such an incredible opportunity to make a difference. So it's exciting to have this as a topic for all of us to be coming together and seeing what we can do to help individuals because we can see that scales up to helping America. So that's one of the most exciting things about what I do every day.
I was telling this story to somebody. So, my career is built in Fortune 500 companies. It's only 3 years that I came into this kind of more technology healthcare space. And it amazes me the level of partnership that happens here. It doesn't happen with P&G. It doesn't happen with Johnson & Johnson. I mean, things are very siloed and solidarity there. In this space, the partnerships, even with companies that you'd think are competitors, it just kind of blows your mind sometimes. But I think we're all looking for where is that 1 + 1 = 3 equation, right? Actually, for Body Media, the more significant portion of our volume comes through partnerships, not from retail. It's finding partnerships where we can integrate into their business model. I think we're all doing that. I mean, the insurgence of APIs and different types of APIs is just, I didn't know what an API was 3 years ago, and that's just my own problem, but now they're everywhere. That's the first question. Well, do you have an API? Can we take your data? Can we do something different with it? And as all of us sitting on this couch, to solve the healthcare problem, none of us have the answer, right? First and foremost, it's different for every person, right? What every person wants and needs and how they're going to take care of themselves is different. So the solution set for them is going to look different for everybody. And none of us as companies and brands have the competency to do all that right. And so the partnerships that succeed, I think, are the ones that say, we're going to focus on what we do well, you're going to focus on what you do well, and we're going to figure out how to make this work to kind of get that 1 + 1 = 3 equation. And for Body Media, we've had success with that, with partners like Jenny Craig, and some health plans that they had an opportunity in their business model for how they wanted to improve engagement, improve outcomes. Jenny Craig was looking, they're really good at food. We're not good at food, but we're good at everything else that they didn't. And so it's been a great partnership.
So just a quick follow-up on that. How formal are those partnerships?
The two that I mentioned are quite formal. Jenny Craig is going on our 3rd season now with them. And so they have 4 programs that they offer. We're actually integrated into one of them. And it's it's a different program than they offer. It's a metabolically based program, and our armband is incorporated in the whole. This is a unique counseling program, food program, and then our technology. So it's a structural business model integration.
Excellent.
On that note, I think that you hit the nail on the head. And you said we're not going to solve the problem we have by ourselves, and so I, just have a quick story. I did biomarker research for heart attacks prior to starting MD Revolution, and I worked with Johnson & Johnson. I worked with Scripps Research Institute. We worked with a number of other rare cell isolation companies, and The story is that even within the science and academic community, they realized that in order to actually do biomarker research, we had to get samples from a hospital, isolate it in an academic lab, get another commercial partner to then do further isolation, and then we sent it across to a Veridex lab in Pennsylvania to actually do the analysis. And we had to come together to partner to get the tools because none of us have all the tools to really deliver value. The problem is before you could develop a product. Now you have to develop value. And if you're going to develop value, you have to be integrated. And if you need to be integrated, you have to work together. So, you know, Dave and I spent probably about an hour this morning talking about how we're going to use FitLinks for the blood pressure and scale devices for our corporate wellness programs that we're having. I've talked to other companies that have, you know, ideas about, you know, they're billion-dollar companies that have genetic sequencing labs, but they don't know how to deliver this product. So they need our help to help deliver it. You know, there's GPS trackers that need, you know, other people to help them with the data mining. And so, you know, you have to, if you're creating a product or even thinking about creating a product in this space, you have to be thinking, how can I leverage existing relationships with people that have already created certain technologies, as opposed to thinking that I'm going to just do it all myself because it's just not going to work.
Yeah. So I'm just curious. I want to play fly on the wall for that conversation you guys had this morning. What did it sound like? What were the, whatever you can disclose, of course. What were the kinds of things that you guys discussed?
I mean, you were asking the partnerships need to be formal, and yes, they do. If you go into partnerships, you got to make that part of your business model. It can't just be a side thing, because every day we're all faced with decisions from a product standpoint and a marketing standpoint. How are we going to position? What's the next feature and things like that? And if your partner's needs aren't on that list, you're not a partnering organization. I think the key thing is that you, and this is what Samir and I were talking about this morning. First thing is, are we trying to do the same thing? Like, does his outcome match to my outcome? Like, do I want the same things what Samir wants? So if Samir is going to do something, you know, completely off the track of getting people healthier and focused on total population and large groups of people and moving the dial on health, we're not going to partner well, because that's, you know, he and I just wouldn't be aligned. So I think alignment is a critical part. And then once alignment, so we talked about alignment, made sure that was, you know, in place. We talked about just, you know, as part of that, his product, my product, would they work together? Would it make sense for the end user to have these two pieces in their hand and integrated? And then the third thing is, we're setting up meetings between our teams to make sure they understand each other, and we have this sort of, you know, nice process our partners go through where we have business development conversations, then we technical conversations, and then we have. It's about a 2 or 3 week program where the integration takes place between the products, and we just make sure it's working properly. It's a whole effort. I mean, it's a whole nother side of business development that you just don't see. It's all in the background, but it's critical. You have to have all that, and you got to be committed to it.
Great. So I'm getting my cue to wind down a little bit here, but I have a follow-up on this, and that falls in the line of, when does it not make sense to pursue partnerships? When do you want to avoid those types of things?
Company mismatch in size is the biggest problem that we face. If you think of the largest technology leaders out there who might, say, have announced, say, Google Glasses, well, they talk to us all the time about, can the API into our data streams? And frankly, we're interested and scared at the same time, because a big company versus a small company, in terms of the alignment you were talking about, you could be burned in resource extremely fast. Your entire company, most of us, if we're doing small products, 50, 100, maybe 200 people maximum size. Somebody who's got 10,000 employees could consume all of your company's output for the next 5 years, and you would still maybe not make revenue. So figuring out alignment, not only in terms of product alignment and user alignment, but size and technology. You know, we go in and our NDAs have to be extremely stringent. The technology pace moves so quickly now that you could get matched out of the market in a heartbeat by the people you're counting on as your partner. So we look at it as a huge opportunity, and collaboration is kind of what the company's based on. But we're also very careful about who we play with.
Very good. Okay, sorry, questions from the audience? Go ahead and step up to the mic, please.
Thank you. Very interesting. We are a business innovation network. We try to draw parallel of what's working in one ecosystem and what's not working. So apparently here, everything seems to be working in terms of adoption, in terms of the network. And I would like to ask you a question, but just one parallel. You remember 2 years ago how much we spoke about the smart grid and how these wonderful things should save a billion of kilowatts in the US. And finally, what I learned in the plane, I was sitting next to a gentleman who was in that field, and he said that after all, there was a major rejection by the American people because of Big Brother watching my consumption at home, and I don't want the utility company to monitor that, okay? And now this program is almost dead, standstill. So in your field, obviously you have some quantified self, I feel good, but then you have also the monitoring, okay, and the reimbursement of Blue Cross or not Blue Cross if I behave properly. So I could have the same feeling of being Big Brother by a government agency and things like that. So my question to you, have you seen such pullback, or have you been able to see what is the line you should not cross for these things to continue to work with a good momentum?
I'd be able to address part of that. We have a relationship with Taser, where our product is distributed to local and state policemen. And everybody was up in arms, and then we had a relationship with the Occupy movement, and they started wearing them as well. And what we found was that people were less worried about Big Brother in terms of the community, and more worried about being empowered in the same way. So both the police wearing the product and the Occupy protesters wearing the product reported that when the product was being utilized by both, the behavior of both changed for the better. They were both nicer to each other because they knew that they were being recorded by everyone, and all of a sudden the police were being friendlier and the Occupy folks weren't throwing tomatoes at them. So it was kind of a positive thing, not a negative.
I'll share a quick story on that one, because we've had this question from a couple customers, especially in the corporate wellness space and employer space. You know, body sensing data is kind of, I think people bucket privacy differently. And, you know, we had a customer who said, we had customers who, potential employees who rejected using a body media device because they were afraid that their employer could see the data. Yet that partner already, I mean, that health plan already had all their medical records and, you know, the doctor visits and everything. But they bucket that. It's like, that's acceptable for my employer to have access to. But this, you know, body sensing technology, I don't know about that. You know, even though, you know, technically it's not an issue, you know, it's our servers and nobody has access to it as part of our terms of use. But I found it interesting that at the individual level, they bucket what they will perceive to be allowed and shared.
What's also happening, though, is a lot of people are not going to have a choice in the matter. Employers are already charging employees more for being heavier, having hypertension, smoking. It's already happening. So people are rapidly, and you're going to see it. Listen, we don't have the resources in this country to deliver health care like it's going to need. I mean, we're already short physicians today. So employers are taking a big role in promoting health promotion. And the problem with a lot of health promotion out there is that it's not couched in the right way. So you do have to have HIPAA security, which is patient security when you're building our platform. But in general, certain parameters are already being acceptable in terms of being able to, you know, employers charging people for more phenotypes that are out there. So I think that you're going to see more and more acceptance of this going forward.
Great, great. Next question.
Well, that overlaps a lot with my question. My question is going to be, you have these devices that capture a lot of medical information, and talking about sharing it out among, you know, the village, how much HIPAA compliance do you build into these platforms? Or is that something you're required to build in at this time?
It is. So you have to. And so our software is also HL7 compatible, which talks to other electronic health records. But the idea is that, you know, the corporations that are doing the assessments, the HR, don't have any access to any of this. And so you have to make sure it's HIPAA compliant. So the HR division might have access to, you know, what the steps of an entire population was for an entire month, or how much weight they might have lost or number of sick days. So they can track general statistics, but you do have to make it HIPAA compliant so that the data is secure, and that is something that's a big, big topic of conversation in the field right now.
And, if I could jump in, just 2 comments. First, you have to give the end user the ultimate control of the data, no matter what you're doing. So that, to me, is just a default, and it has to happen. If you see what's happening with Facebook or Instagram, you realize you do bad programs or bad policies, they get thrown out right away by the crowd. The second, just to answer your question about HIPAA, what we've done is we don't handle any personal identifiable data. We just hand over our data to our partners who handle the personal data. So we just give them GUIDs, which are user IDs, with data that streams over, and then it gets handed by the partner, not by us.
Hi, my question is regarding partnerships as well. So I had 2 questions regarding that. The first is, how have you integrated experts into your network, including doctors, dietitians, pharmacists, and what challenges have you faced with that? And the second is, how do you best integrate different types of devices into your community and get them to open up their APIs for those partnerships?
So I think, that's our whole business model. So, just to start that off is, first of all, you sit on panels like this where your partners and people that are sitting on the panel with you are actually potential collaborators. So Christina and I are talking about, body media, hopefully sometime soon. And, we've already talked about Dave and I, but we go out and reach out to these individual devices. Also, in terms of the doctor partnership, is extremely critical, and that's why we built a clinical lab to validate a lot of these devices, because there's a lot of Me Too devices that are out there that are not being really built properly. So I think, involving doctors and other trainers and other type of people to help vet these devices, make sure that they're actually functional within a clinical setting, is very important. So you just reach out to them, and I think they usually respond in most cases.
Yeah, this is an area where we've actually somewhat done informal partnerships, because so many doctors and health professionals recommend to their patients to use Spark People that we've even got notes from doctors saying the best prescription I write is to go to sparkpeople.com. So unlike a lot of the more formal types of partnerships that we've talked about, this is an area where we've got essentially informal partnerships all over America.
So I'm sorry we don't have any more time for any questions. Sorry about those. We're waiting in line here. First and foremost, I want to thank you all for attending. Hopefully you enjoyed lunch and the great conversation here today. And I especially want to thank our panelists. So thank you.